Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, my Loverlies. If you've never been here before, I am so happy you found me. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. You picked a really, really great video to come visit me on. Today is True Love Tuesday, my absolute favorite video to film every week. I am a sucker for a good love story. I hope that you are too. I have been doing the more glamorous old Hollywood couples, you know, like the OGs, the OG Hollywood love stories, right? And today I wanted to explore maybe a different face of love, maybe a different dimension. Love comes in so many different sizes and shapes. It is so personal to each and every couple, and it is it's such a multi-dimensional emotion, right? And people express their loves in all kinds of different ways. So today I wanted to go down more of a historical route and talk about a historical romance. Today we're talking about Napoleon and Josephine. Now they are infamous. They are infamous not only for their passionate love affair, but also for the many love letters Napoleon wrote Josephine over the years, and we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna go in depth into their love affair and maybe a little bit about what made them tick and why things happened the way that they did. But before we dive into the love story, I of course will be doing my makeup as I talk about it. This is the eye look that we're gonna do today. It is just a really pretty, very simple, kind of giving you fall vibes today, but you guys know I get so wrapped up in my stories. I don't want to do something super complicated, and because you know I will end up not finishing the eye look because I'll just get completely wrapped up in the story. So I went for something very easy but very fun and super wearable today as well. So this is what it looks like. It is red and orange with a little bit of a pop of blue on the blue and green on the lower lash line. It is very, very pretty and super easy to do. I'm going to be using a brand that I don't think that I've showcased on my channel before, and that is Ruby May. Now, I purchased these palettes off of Shop Wanderlust. Yeah, Wanderlust Beauty. Not to be confused with Wander Beauty, completely different thing. Wanderlustbeauty.com is an online discount makeup retailer. They have all kinds of really, really fun brands for super affordable prices. I get all kinds of really great makeup on there. I haven't placed an order with them in a while, but I do check the website every now and then, and they have so much really fun, really cool stuff on there. They have everything from palettes to skincare. They have headbands, jewelry, all kinds of really fun stuff. So if you guys are on the market for some really fun, affordable makeup, definitely check them out. They have this category, which you guys know is already my favorite. They have this category. It's called $5 treasures, or $5 deals. Anyway, they have all kinds of palettes and skincare and brushes and all kinds of fun stuff for $5 a piece. Really, really great website, especially if you're just looking to explore and just kind of, you know, play with makeup a little bit. It's great. I love it. I've never ordered anything from that site that didn't come to me beautifully packaged, and just great quality. They have Rude Cosmetics on there. I actually purchased these two palettes that I'm going to be using today on that website as well. These were $5 a piece. These are the Ruby May palettes. These are each 9-pan palettes. I have the Spiced Latte and Peppermint Mocha. These are absolutely adorable. The quality of these palettes is phenomenal. Really, really great quality. Super easy to use. Blend effortlessly. Super pigmented. Just really great shadows. So this is the Spiced Latte. That's what it looks like. These are like, can I say like one more time? These are quintessential fall palettes. This color story just screams fall to me. You've got all kinds of really beautiful muted burgundies and oranges, and these shimmers are insane. Just completely foiled, just intense. I mean, look at that. That is insanely stunning, and only $5. The quality is just superior. It is superior quality, and I couldn't recommend this brand anymore. Love this palette. So this is the Spiced Latte. And then we have Peppermint Mocha as well. Each palette comes with a mirror in it as well. And then, of course, it folds in half for ease of handling. You guys know I love that so very much. This is what the color story for the Peppermint Mocha looks like. This one I feel like is maybe just a little bit more, it's definitely deeper and a little bit more moody. But they're so freaking pretty. They're so pretty. This taupey, this is like a taupey silver color, and it's just really incredible. Really beautiful. I love these. The shimmers are insane. The mattes are beautiful. So really great brand. If you guys are looking for a new palette, I highly recommend these. And you can't beat quality versus price is just spot on. Really spectacular. So we're going to be using these two palettes today. I'm probably not going to talk an awful lot about what I'm doing, but of course I will post everything that I will list everything that I use in today's video in the description box below, as always. And we're just gonna hop right into it. Oh wait, one more thing. So before we get into it, guys, I did my nails yesterday. Let's do a nail check. Are these not the most adorable things freaking ever? I am so in love with it. I went for a deep royal purple base, and then I did pink flowers, and then I put some gemstones in the center of a couple of the nails just for little accent pieces. I am so in love with these. They're so amazing. I get the nails, I paint them myself, but I get the actual nails off of Shein, and they are so fantastic. You get a pack of like 800 nails for around $5, cheaper than anything else you're gonna find. And they're great quality. They're nice and sturdy. I never have to worry about them bending or splitting or breaking. Really high quality. They stay on for forever. They're just absolutely fantastic. And then not only that, but they come pre-shaped as well. So really all I have to do is glue them on and then file down the edges just so they're not sharp, and they're fantastic. I usually change my nails every Saturday. So this is this week's set of nails. I would love to see what you guys have on your nails. So definitely, if you post any pictures of your nails, tag me in them so I can kind of maybe get a little bit of inspiration from you guys as well. So moving on, make sure you have a nice big old glass of sweet tea or a cup of coffee, something to wet your whistle. I have to have something to keep myself hydrated because I talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and I will just end up losing my voice. So make sure you have a big old glass of something to drink on, maybe a glass of wine. A glass of wine would be so nice. I haven't had a glass of wine in absolutely forever. Get you something to drink, sit back, relax, maybe do your makeup with me, and let's talk about some love. Let's get into it. So I of course have my little notes over here to the side. So if I am staring over here, it is because I'm trying to make sure that I am not lying to you guys. I have, my memory is a sieve. I cannot retain information for anything. So my notes are imperative. But if I'm looking over here in this direction, that is why. And diving right in. They are known, right? Everybody knows Napoleon. We're gonna go in the Spice palette first. Everybody knows Napoleon for his epic love letters, right? And I actually tried to look up a couple of his love letters, and y'all, they are spicy. He was not afraid of the dirty talk. He was not afraid of dirty talk. I am an experienced worldly woman. And I like to think that, you know, I have a kink here and there, and you know, I'm pretty open, you know, sexually. But goodness gracious, Lord, some of the things that he said to this woman in his letters, whoo. So we're not going to be quoting too many of the love letters. I did try to get little snippets here and there where I thought I wouldn't, you know, get flagged. So we do have a couple of quotes, but they're known for, their relationship is known for these epic love letters that he used to send her, right? And it was like sexting, right? It was sexting, but for the 1700s, it was explicit, but spicy and fun. Just a really great way to keep things spicy. Now, during their relationship, Napoleon is out conquering the world. He is taking over Europe, and they didn't really get to spend a ton of time together. So it was necessary for them to correspond. You know, correspondence was the way they kind of kept in touch, right? So, and it took forever for letters and stuff to get delivered because, you know, he's all over the world, conquering countries, right? So letter after letter after letter, he was a prolific letter writer, right? And one of his biggest problems with Josephine was that she was not a writer. She did not respond. Though she enjoyed his letters and loved his letters very much, she was not a writer. And one of the biggest problems in their relationship was that she just didn't write to him as often as he wanted her to. He wanted her to respond to every single letter, and she just did not. Maybe she responded to every 1 out of 3 that he wrote her, but the amount he wrote really would be difficult to keep up, honestly. So there have been more talk and work. So there have been more books and movies made about Napoleon than any other man in history, which I found to be fascinating. And I think just because he is he is just such a fascinating person. The will of this man, you know, he almost conquered the world, right? And just did it out of sheer willpower. It's quite insane, really, honestly. But our story begins in France. We all know Napoleon was French. And, you know, we all know him as, you know, being this big military leader, for being a statesman. He's best known for his loss at Waterloo. And then, of course, after losing at Waterloo, he was what was that? He was arrested and exiled to the island, St. Helena. And I believe that's where he died. Jo was his first wife. So she was not his only wife. She was not his only love, but she was his first. And she was actually much older than him as well. And I think this is like a recurring, it's kind of like a pattern, right? Because I'm finding that men with power, or men that seek power, prefer older women. And I believe that is because of, you know, the maturity level. I believe that older women teach their mothers, right? Their mothers, they nurture, they care for. And whereas a younger woman basically is going to want to be more taken care of and is going to need a little bit more. An older woman is more mature. She's more worldly. She can be more of a teacher and more of a nurturer, right? So I find that men in power really prefer an older woman because not only are they, you know, nurturers and teachers, but they're also much more self-sufficient. They're not quite as needy. And I just feel like the power play is a little bit more even when the woman is older. So I thought that was quite fascinating. And most of these stories, you have these powerful women, and, you know, we're kind of conditioned to believe that men want younger women, and the younger the better, basically. But when it comes to men with power, I find that they really want an older woman. They want someone who knows what they're doing and is capable of taking care of themselves. So, yes, Leo and Jo married in March on the 9th in 1796. But guys, they only stayed married for 5 years. And this is something that I don't quite understand, because if she was his great love, and he was so passionately in love with this woman, and she was his the moon in his sky, right? Why only 5 years? Why did they only last 5 years? I would like to know this. I do know the answer. You're going to be shocked. But they only lasted 5 years. So, okay, Jo was born. Okay. So, I'm calling her Jo. I'm going to call her Jo and him Leo, just because they're shorter. Jo was born Marie Joseph Rose. And that was her real name, Marie Joseph Rose, right? And Leo didn't like her name. Leo didn't like Marie. Her parents called her Rose. Her siblings called her Marie. And Leo didn't like either one of those names. He thought they were too common. They were beneath her. really. So he nicknamed her Josephine, and that is the name that she used and carried for the rest of her life. So I think that's funny. She must have liked it at least a little bit. But he nicknamed her Jo. And she was the daughter of a minor aristocrat. Her father was a low title holder. He held a title. He was an aristocrat, but very, very low on the spectrum. They were not very rich because her father was a chronic gambler, and spent most of his life deeply in debt. And because of this, she pretty much she needed to get away. And he basically sold her to the highest bidder when she was 16. She married a man, what was the name? I don't think I know the name of her first husband. But Leo was not her first husband either. So again, she's kind of been around the world a little bit. She's experienced. She was the daughter of a chronic gambler. As a young girl in France, her father told her, oh, okay. So as a young girl in France, fortune tellers and things like that were big back in the day. And she actually went to a fortune teller one time. And the fortune teller, the gypsy fortune teller that read her palm, told her that, I quote, "You'll be queen of France, more than a queen." And of course, that basically did come to pass. When she met Napoleon, things progressed really, really quickly. And she indeed did become not only queen, but empress. So I thought that was pretty nifty. Y'all, I've never been to see a fortune teller. Have you? I've always wanted to go. They don't really exist here, but I kind of wish that they did, because I'd love to go see a fortune teller and see what she had to say to me. I think that'd be really cool. But I'm so superstitious, it probably would either freak me out or it probably would freak me out. I'm not even going to lie. It probably would freak me out. So she went and saw this fortune teller. The fortune teller told her that she would end up being Queen of France, even more than a queen, even more powerful than a queen. And of course, that does come to pass. Prediction pretty much came true. She was 32. She was a 32-year-old mother of two when she met Leo. She met Leo in 1795 at a society ball hosted by her then protector. I don't know what it's called, but she was his mistress at the time. And she was actually the mistress of Leo's mentor, right? And his mentor's name was Paul, and his last name is, I think it's Barius, or I don't want to mispronounce it because I'm really terrible at that kind of thing, but his first name was Paul, and he was actually Leo's mentor. And not only was he Leo's mentor, but he was also the governor of France. Now, you might be asking, well, what happened to her husband? How did she go from being a wife and mother of two to being the mistress of the governor of France? Well, Jo married at 16 to an aristocrat by the name of Alexander. Together, they had a son and a daughter. Their son's name was Eugene, and their daughter's name was Hortense. And they had a pretty good life. Like I said, she was pretty much sold to the highest bidder when she was 16. She married at 16, popped out 2 children. But then life did not stay, their marriage didn't last for very long. Life didn't stay good for very long for her, unfortunately. Pretty soon after she had her children, Jo was imprisoned, as was her husband, Alexander, for treason. Now, he was accused of treason, and because you guys know that the women were pretty much treated like property back in the day, we're still pretty much treated that way. But women were treated as property, and because her husband had committed a crime, she was accused of it as well, which I thought was a little bit ridiculous. But she was, and because her husband was found guilty, they were both thrown into jail. Now, her husband, Alexander, he was executed for his crimes, but here's the thing about Jo. She is super, super intelligent, right? She was a very smart lady. And I would say, like, she wasn't a genius or anything like that, but she was very savvy. She was very street smart. She knew how to talk. She could pretty much convince anything to do just about anything she wanted them to. And I don't know if that was partially due to the fact that she was beautiful, or it was probably a mixture of the fact that she was absolutely beautiful, and then on top of that, just knew how to talk, knew how to argue her case. So somehow, because her husband was executed, she was supposed to be executed as well, but somehow she managed to talk her way out of that situation and was able to escape the prison. Now, her husband was just executed. She is not allowed to own any property. She has no money. What is she to do? She has 2 children, right? So she goes out and she finds a protector, and she's smart. She's super smart. She goes out, she finds the most powerful man that she can. And at that time, that was Paul, the governor of France. So she shacks up with him, and is basically is set, right? Everything is going good. She's got everything under control. When a man, when you were a mistress, the man pretty much gave you a home. He gave you an allowance, a weekly allowance that you were allowed to spend. He basically took care of everything. The only thing you had to do was make sure that you were available to him whenever he needed you, right? I mean, not the best, but not the worst, right? There are worse things in the world, right? She was safe. She was protected. Her children were safe and protected. She was very happy. But after, some men have the attention span of an absolute gnat, and she knew her time was coming. She knew that Paul was getting tired of her. She knew that he was itching for something new, a new toy to play with, so to speak. And she was kind of panicking a little bit. She was like, what am I going to do? Because of course she doesn't own anything. Her whole life is hanging on the whims of this man, and he's getting tired of her. As soon as he's tired of her, he's going to kick her to the curb, and she's going to have nothing, and her children and her are going to be homeless. And Paul, being, a governor, was not a bad man. He was not a bad man, and he didn't want to just kick her to the curb for absolutely no reason, especially if knowing that she didn't have anywhere else to go. So Paul, at this ball, again, he's hosting this ball, and at the ball, he notices that Napoleon and Josephine are kind of making eyes at each other. Light bulb, right? I always think Gru. You ever seen that Minions movie? Anyway, light bulb. He's like, oh, okay, here's my chance to kind of get rid of her. So he goes up to Leo, and he's like, isn't she beautiful? Isn't she lovely? Anyway, he encourages Leo to pursue Josephine. Now, at this time, Leo he's pretty much a nobody, right? He is a very, very low-ranking officer in the French army. He doesn't really have any rank or prestige. And he is looking for an older woman to kind of help open doors for him, right? He wants an older woman who's going to help teach him kind of how to navigate French society. He wants a woman who is going to help him rise, right? And here is Josephine, and she is this very worldly, beautiful, elegant, smart, sophisticated woman, and he is instantly smitten. Not only is she stunning and everything that he was looking for, but she's also the woman that can help him open those doors and help him to navigate and help him to really garner the support that he's looking for, because he's already got ideas by this point, right? He already knows, like, basically what he wants to do, and he's got a plan. He just needs someone to help him carry it out. And in walks Josephine, and she's like the answer to his prayers, and very, very quickly they pretty much shack up, and the rest is kind of history. Jo managed to escape. Yeah, she escaped that. Leo was looking for an older woman. We got that. They very quickly set out to seduce each other. Now, I can only assume that it was entirely too romantic and very much a lot of fun. And she wanted him because she needed a protector, and he wanted her because not only was she beautiful, but she could help him in so many ways. And they basically just kind of fell together, right? They set out to seduce each other and did so very, very quickly, and they ended up together. Now, Leo, of course, could have just kept her his mistress, and that would have been fine. But instead, he fell madly, deeply in love with her, and he ended up proposing to Jo in January of 1796. And he would flood her. At this point, after he's proposed, this is when the love letters start. This is when he starts to flood her with hundreds of love letters. Now, he is not in Paris with her at this moment. He is actually out on starting his campaigns. He is out fighting battles with the French army. And at this point, they're not together, right? They're still in the very, very young stages of love. And it's kind of, you know, again, just trying to get, not only get to know each other, but it's a long distance relationship. You've got to keep everybody invested. And he was such a poet. He would write her these absolutely massive, beautiful, like, poems, right? And love letters, and just absolutely beautiful, beautiful prose. And I have an excerpt that I can read to you. It says, "I hope before long to crush you in my arms. I shall be alone and far, far away, but you are coming, aren't you? You are going to be here beside me, in my arms and on my chest, on my mouth. Take wing and come, come. I kiss your heart. A kiss on your heart, and one much lower down, much lower." Guys, so bad. He was naughty. He was naughty. And that was one of the cleaner kind of excerpts that I could find. So yes, he sends her all of these really beautiful, spicy, kind of sexy letters, and they progress that way. And this goes on for a while. He'll come home for a short while and leave again on another campaign. And he would get very, very upset with Jo because, like I said earlier, she did not return his letters and write back to him as often as he would have liked. And excuse me, part of that is just because she was very much a party girl. She was very much a woman about town. She loved to entertain. She loved to, she was a socialite from the word go. She loved to be out and about. She didn't want to be sitting in her room writing letter after letter. She very much was in love with Leo, but she just didn't have time to be sitting there writing letters after letter after letter, right? Okay. So he would flood her with intense romantic love letters sent from his posts all around the world. Lots of dirty talk, but again, didn't like that she didn't respond very often. And then he would say, in another excerpt, he says, "How happy I would be if I could assist you at your undressing. The adorable face and the hair tied in a scarf. Without you, the assurance of your love. What is left to me on this earth?" So beautiful, so sweet. He really was like a puppy in love. And you got to think about the fact that she probably was not as infatuated, because at this point, I feel like as much as it is true love, it's also an infatuation of sorts, because again, she probably very much knew what she was doing, and probably made sure that he was indeed infatuated with her. And she cast a spell on that poor boy, that poor man, and had him wrapped around her finger. So time progresses, and by this time, Leo had done what he had set out to do. He is indeed the Emperor of France at this point in time. She is the Empress, and is enjoying all of the perks that come along with being the Empress of France. She has unlimited money. Everybody basically, she's basically top tier, right? Top tier. A few days after they married in a civil service. So was something I thought was fun as well, or maybe not fun, but interesting. They didn't have a wedding, and you would think, being the Emperor and Empress of France, they would have like this big royal regal wedding, and they didn't. They were married they basically had a courthouse wedding. They were married in a civil service. It was quick, it was fast, and then as soon just a few days after they were married, he was forced to leave out on another campaign. So throughout the entire duration of their 5-year marriage, they really didn't spend that much time together. For most of it, he was out fighting battle after battle. He was a few days after they were married, he actually was forced to leave Joe in Paris, while he led a battle against the Italians and Austrians. So he spent basically their entire marriage, he was out fighting and pretty much worlds away from her, right? So that is a lot of alone time for both of them, right? And at this time, he is in his prime. He is a young man and very virile. He's a very virile and, testosterone kind of guy, right? And Joe was, like I said, like a socialite. She was a social butterfly and very much liked attention. She just liked attention. And this led to both of them being very, very unfaithful. They both ended up having many, many affairs. He provides for her, right? So he has her set up in a house, and the servants take care of her, but are loyal to him. And so they let him know, and guys, he likes to write. So of course he's going to write his housekeepers and things, see what his woman is up to. And they tell him, this is what's going on. This is who she's entertaining this week. This is who she entertained last week. And what I thought was interesting is the fact that neither one of them cared. And this might be due to the fact that they're French, and the French view of, what is the word I'm looking for? The French view of fidelity. It's not quite the same. They're definitely more of an open culture than we are. So the fact that she was unfaithful was not a big deal. She had needs to, and she had to be taken care of, and he didn't mind at all. He ended up having a ton of affairs, one of the most prominent being with the wife of one of his fellow officers in Egypt. So he was stationed in Egypt for quite a while, I believe, and had a very intense affair with the wife of one of his fellow officers. Now, people in his platoon used to call her his Cleopatra, because I'm trying to figure out how to say it. I don't think that it was love, but it definitely was. There was care there. There was passion there. Not on the level that he had for Joe, but definitely there was passion there. And he ended up actually having 2 children with her. So there is that. But this is going to come back into play a little while later. And if you guys know anything about the 1700s and how things kind of worked back then, children that were born out of wedlock were called bastards, and they were illegitimate. And because they were illegitimate and not born in wedlock, he couldn't pass anything on to them. He basically they weren't his. He could deny any and all responsibility for them, or even that he had helped create them in any way. And because of that, he also it wasn't legal. So he couldn't pass on they couldn't be his heirs. He couldn't pass on his title to them. It wasn't legal. It wasn't binding. And at this point, he is the Emperor of France, and he's a very important man, and he's getting a little bit older, and he fights continuously and is well aware that it's possible that each battle could be his last. So at this point, he very, very much wants an heir. He wants to be secure in the knowledge that if something were to happen to him, he would have someone to leave his legacy to, and someone that would help continue his legacy. And unfortunately for Joe, she was older than him. And because of that, she was a little bit past her childbearing years. And though they tried the entire duration of their marriage to have children, she ended up having quite a few, at least 2 or 3 miscarriages, and just wasn't able to carry an heir for him full term. And because of this, they ended up divorcing. As much as he loved Josephine and as passionate as their love was, and as true as their love might have been, at the end, the only thing he really cared about was the continuation of his line. And because she could not help him do that, and because she could not help him procreate, he needed to find someone that could do that for him. And in order for him, like I said, in order for him to be able to claim this child as a legitimate heir, he needed to be married. So he ended up getting his marriage to Joe annulled. Before all of that, really happened, he was having this affair, and her name was Pauline. So he was having this affair with Pauline. He had children with Pauline, and I believe that is what kind of kicked in the I need an heir kind of mentality for him, because he's having children with other women and still has yet to have a legitimate child with Joe. And on top of that, they're both philandering. They're both off doing their own things. And as much as it didn't bother either one of them, he would very much tease her. And this is how I know it was more of there was true feeling there, because he would tease her instead of getting angry with her for, committing adultery. He would write her letters and tease her. I quote, "I write you, my beloved one, very often, and you write so little. You are wicked and naughty, very naughty, as much as you are fickle. You are unfaithful and deceive your poor husband with tender lovers. Adieu, adorable Joe. One of these nights your door will open with a great noise, and you will find me in your arms instead." So basically he's saying, I know what you're up to. I know what you're doing. You're, basically telling her, y'all get the gist. Anyway, so he's teasing her very much. And, when men tease, it's a sign of affection, and it's a sign of love. But after he had his children with Pauline, he very much wanted an heir. He wanted to be secure in the knowledge that his legacy would continue. And because Joe was unable to give him progeny, he needed to make that happen. So he ended up getting an annulment. And like I said, I thought it was weird that they didn't have this big stately royal kind of wedding. They just had a civil service. Well, he used that to his advantage. And because they only had a civil service, he used that as grounds for an annulment. And the reason he got an annulment instead of a divorce was because he didn't want the church to be upset with him. Now, the church hasn't changed that much, even in 300 years. And as much as divorce is looked on badly now, it was not tolerated back then. If they would have gotten a divorce, then, he wouldn't have been on good grounds with the church, and that could have affected, the state of his being emperor, right? He needed the church's backing to really help with the people and everything that he was trying to achieve. So instead of getting a divorce, he got an annulment. And the civil service comes into play here because he got the annulment on the grounds that there was not a priest. There wasn't a, what is exactly, I don't want to lie to you guys. There was a, it was cleared, French, there wasn't a parish priest. Okay, so he got an annulment on the grounds that a parish priest had not presided over the civil service. Okay, but here's the thing, right? So he divorces her, right? He gets an annulment. They're basically divorced. And they're no longer together. But instead of kicking her out on her tail and basically telling her, I'm done with you, you have served your purpose, get on out of here, he continues to support her. He actually continued to, she continued to be the Empress of France. He let her hold on to her title. And not only that, but after they got divorced, after the annulment, he actually still provided for her. He bought her a house, Hortense, okay, 5 years after marriage, hundreds of love letters, Sally Joka, still loved each other very much, even though she couldn't give him children. They stayed friends, and Jo was still Empress. Jo moved to a private home near Paris, where, you know, Paris, his private residence, his residence was in Paris. He purchased her a home close to Paris, outside of Paris, but close enough. They still had a relationship after that. I do think that they still kind of messed around and things like that, at least for a little while. But he actually purchased her a house and continued to support her very lavishly. Basically, he basically let her have the run of his bank account. She never suffered. She never suffered for the fact that she couldn't give him children. And I like that he didn't punish her for that. You know, it's not her fault that she wasn't able to have children anymore. It's never a woman's fault when she's, you know, not able to do that. But other men, especially men during that time, would have taken that out on her. They would have been upset that they couldn't get an heir from her. And when she couldn't provide what they so desperately needed, they would have just kicked her out on her rear and left her to fend for herself. But Leo didn't do that. Leo still continued to provide for her and love her until she died. And she died sadly not very long after they were divorced. So she died in May on the 29th in 1814. She died of pneumonia, right? And what I thought was odd, maybe not odd, but kind of a testament to their love, was that Leo actually died a short 7 years later. And that's kind of, she died at 57. I'm not sure how much older she was than he was, but she died at 57 of pneumonia. And for back then, that's actually a pretty good long life. Life expectancy was not super long, definitely nowhere near what it is now. But he died 7 short years after she did, and he died in exile on the island of St. Helena as a British prisoner. Now, what kind of drew this very powerful and very what drew them together? And I think this is one of the questions I was kind of wondering about, because she was an older woman. She was beautiful, but she wasn't like the greatest beauty of her day. And I kind of just was wondering what would draw him to her. She had 2 children. She really didn't come have like a title. She really didn't bring a lot to the table. But I did find there was a book written about Josephine. And I did find a couple of excerpts from that book. And it kind of explained Josephine's kind of character in a way. And it kind of made sense a little bit more to me. And it said that she was smart. It said that she was an exceptional mother. So in a time when, you know, aristocratic women had children and then kind of handed them off to nannies and wet nurses to raise. She was very involved with her children. She was very involved in the way that they were raised. On top of that, she was great at throwing a party. She was a perfect hostess. She was charming. She was charming in a way that didn't seem calculated or cold. She was charming in a way that seemed nurturing and warm. She was an exceptionally kind woman. She was kind to her staff. She was kind to her employees. And again, at this time, when people can be bad and when people are allowed to be bad, they do bad things. And during this time, people are mean, people are rude, especially to the staff. And she was renowned for being exceptionally kind and exceptionally warm to those around her. She was noted as being an absolutely a diehard friend. She would give you the shirt off of her back. She was generous. And I think that Leo needed that kindness and that warmth to help him go, to help keep him from going even more over the edge than he already had. He is already, you know, you can assume a very egotistical man, has dreams, big giant dreams, and is unafraid to trample people in the way. You know, he's not afraid to people out of the way to kind of achieve those dreams. And I think with Josephine, she was able to help things from getting worse than they already were. I can only imagine what things would have been like if you wouldn't have had such a kind woman to help see him through things and help kind of guide his choices a little bit. So I thought that was nice to know. She knew how, she just kind of knew how to be an empress. She knew how to step into that role with kindness and humanity instead of letting it go to her head and letting, you know, kind of going on a nice big power trip. She stepped into it and stayed human, which I feel like a lot of people would have had a difficult time doing. So I thought that was a really wonderful thing to know about Josephine. Fun fact, actually Joe's daughter, Hortense, so Joe's daughter from her first marriage with her husband, Alexander, grew up during this time, and actually later on ended up marrying Leo's brother. So I thought that was so much fun. So funny, actually. It really is a small world. So she ended up marrying Leo's brother, and Leo became not only her stepfather, but her father, her brother-in-law, which I thought was a fun little fact. Leo died 7 years later, a British prisoner, but their love indeed endured. It kind of lasted. It passed the test of time. Their love is infamous, really, for being hot and furious and vocal, so very vocal, and is kind of, and is so romantic in a way. Even though Leo was not a very good person, I think that his love for Joe kind of shows that he could have been capable of it. He was capable of love. He was capable of kindness, and the fact that the way that he treated her, I thought, showed a lot. Honestly, showed a lot about his character. Guys, I think that this love story is beautiful and terrible all at the same time. I think that they were thrust together not by fate, really. I think they were thrust together at a time where the timing was perfect. She needed him, he needed her, and out of necessity bloomed something beautiful and intense and enduring. And love is not always, like I say all the time, love is not always soft. It's not always soft and kind. Love is sometimes hard and difficult to navigate. But I find that those circumstances changes, and the things that we want change as we get older. The heart sometimes just wants what the heart wants. And I really, really encourage you guys to look up some of their letters and read them, just because it's so much, there is so much, the way that he writes to her, you can tell that some of those letters he wrote, and he was with tears in his eyes or a smile on his face. Some of those letters, you can just hear him burning for her in such a beautiful way, in such an intense way. And I think it's truly spectacular and so very special. Guys, that is the end of today's story. This is what the eye looks like. I'm going to add a little bit of a black liner. This is my NYX Epic Ink Liner, and it is dead or dying. I'm going to add a little bit of a black liner. I'm going to line my waterline with my black Milani Stay Put liner. You guys know is my absolute favorite. I'm going to line my upper waterline with this. So pretty. And then for the lower lash line, this is what's going to bring in a little bit of a pop of color and a little bit of something interesting to the look. I'm going to take this Mocha shade from the Peppermint Mocha palette. I'm going to take that on a e.l.f. smudge brush. I'm going to take this dark shade and just bring it onto the very outer edge of my lower lash line. I'm going to bring that in about halfway, just to get a little bit of depth out here on the outer corner. And then I'm going to take this really pretty matte green shade, just on the same brush, and sweep that the rest of the way across my lower lash line, just to bring a little bit of color to Zapati. So pretty. And then this is the fun part. We're going to take this bright blue liner. This is the LA Colors Neon Gel Eyeliner in the shade Swell. And we're going to pop this on the lower waterline. It's going to give us a really beautiful bright pop of color. Bring something a little bit unexpected to the look. And I really think it takes it from a solid 6 or 7 to a 10. That bright pop of color really just kind of makes the warmer tones stand out and pop even more. I really, really love it. Of course, add a nice big thick layer of mascara and you'll be good to go. I think it is so, so pretty. We've got depth, we've got warm tones, we've got, you know, pops of color. It is so pretty, but still, it's colorful, but still neutral. It's fun, but super, super wearable and incredibly easy to do. I, of course, will list everything I used for today's look in the description box below. Guys, as always, no filters, no edits, no fancy lighting. It's just me sitting in front of my camera playing with some makeup, telling you guys a love story, hoping you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. As always, I will post finished pictures over on my Instagram and my Facebook. The links for both of those will be in the description box as well. So guys, if you're not following me on all my other socials, please make sure that you're doing that. Your support is so, so appreciated. It means more to me than you will ever know. And guys, I absolutely love you for it. Also, if you don't mind, please share this video. I am really hoping to hit my new goal of 200 subscribers. Hopefully, it's not going to take me a year to reach that goal. It took me a year to get my first 100. And by the way, guys, thank you so much for 100 subscribers. I love you all so, so very much. I am so, so very happy you're here. But if you guys could share me out, I would really, really appreciate it. Let's make the family just a little bit bigger. Maybe just a little bit bigger. Guys, until next time, I love you so, so very much. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.